What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Real Estate Uncensored. We have an amazing guest today. Of course, the Junior Grandmaster is here. We've got the Evil Bald Ninja. Gene Volpe is here. And so we've got a whole full crew. It's Friday. We're recording this early January of 2022, so we're starting a new year. And we've got a really fun guest to start us out. I don't know if it's the very first guest, but definitely one of the first two or three guests of this year. So a very honored and hallowed position that we are bestowing upon today's guest. Pamela Bardhi is here. So Pamela is a developer, a broker, a builder, an investor, now a coach and a mentor and a speaker and a podcast host in her own right and all kinds of stuff. Like she's got a lot going on. And apparently the maid of honor in an upcoming Nigerian wedding, which I was not aware of until right before we hit record. She's got a lot going on, let's put it that way. So we're going to have a fun, fast-paced conversation. Hopefully Greg is on his worst behavior today. I mean, I can't hope for best. I can only hope for semi to moderately bad behavior. That's really about the best I can do. So before we bring in Pam, Evil Bald Ninja, Gene Volpe, how are you today?
Not as good as you are, sir. You're looking good in your new setup. For the people that are watching on video, you can see what I'm talking about. For the folks that aren't, Matt's got this new setup that I'm super jealous of right now. He's about as comfortable as I can get in any given day, and you're looking good, Matt Johnson.
Thank you. I've never been able to recline. Like, it's a very madman feel over here. Like, I feel like I need like a crystal decanter of scotch over my left shoulder.
I was just
that would really complete the look. But yeah, so people, if you're listening, go check it out on our YouTube channel, which we're going to start doing some new and some fun, more interesting things there with the YouTube channel. So make sure that you're subscribed. Just search for Real Estate Uncensored on YouTube. And my illustrious colleague, the Junior Grandmaster himself, in the co-pilot seat where you so belong, far away from me. Greg, how are you today?
I'm so butthurt you brought Gene in before me. I mean, we're going to have a talk, and there's going to be a cut in your salary for that move.
Nice change.
Okay. We're talking with Pamela about the wedding, and I told her that she has to go binge 90 Day Fiancé because I have been subjected to this show, and you'll learn everything about visas and weddings around the world. But I'm excited to talk to her. I want to learn about her podcast. Gene, you look extra bald as always. Matt, you seriously look like you should have a scotch in your hand. That is not a joke. I mean, you have
We'll start turning Fridays into Scotch days. It's going to be great.
Love it.
Scotch Fridays.
Even though it's 11 a.m.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. Here where I am, it is. Yeah.
So
Pam, it's a little later in the afternoon for you. So Pam, have you started drinking yet?
Not yet. No. But I think after the conversation, I think we might just go and celebrate life. You know, that's what Fridays are all about. I feel like celebratory days.
Yeah.
All right, Pam, hold on. Before we go on with the show, you have to go get a drink because it's going to be a rough one. Okay.
So wait, can I say something real quick? I want to.
Please don't.
We were talking prior to. You don't. I'm sorry, Greg. I'm going in anyway. Prior to the show, we were talking about the wedding, and this is the sign of the times, right? Like Pamela said, she was the maid of honor. I can say where you're going, right? Am I allowed to say that or no?
Yeah.
Okay. She's going to Nigeria, right, to be in the wedding as the maid of honor. But she said, my friend is getting married in Nigeria, and Matt said, "Are you going there?" And for a split second, I thought, I guess these days you could be a maid of honor via Zoom. Like, it's okay, right? You could be. So it wasn't even a crazy question. I just think it's funny that, like, you got to now figure out, like, oh, she's in Nigeria. You're the most important person other than the bride. Are you going, or are you just going to Zoom
It's really more a reflection of my ignorance about weddings than anything else.
Matt's been married 4 times. I mean, he should know it by this time. I mean, gosh, he's been the maid of honor 6 times in other weddings, right, Matt?
Oh my God.
It's like, I hate you all. I see it in his face. He's not speaking a word, but he's like,
"Oh,
that's right." All right, let's have a productive conversation.
With daggers.
I am killing you with daggers. All right, so Pam, tell us just a little bit before we get into your background. Tell us a little bit about the podcast, since we've got podcast listeners here, and I know that they like your show. So, give us the 60-second big idea and what you like about hosting it.
Yeah, so Underdog, the podcast, is really a reflection and who I identify with, like myself. Like, I am the underdog. My family came to the U.S. when I was 5 years old. We had no family, nothing here. My brother was a newborn. I was 5. and my parents built from the ground up, literally. And so, my whole life I've seen that from the ground up. And in real estate is the same thing. I'm the real estate underdog, I like to say, as I've built everything from nothing. And so that's really what I identify with. And I was like, when I was thinking about a podcast, I was like, what to call it. And with my identity comes the underdog. And so I was like, the underdog, of course, like that's the greatest thing. And that's the number one thing that people believe in. And plus we've all had underdog moments in our lives. None of us here have ever gone through anything without a challenge. And so I was like, I want to name it Underdog. And all I want to hear about is who I'm talking to, where they've been, where they are, and where they're going. And it's been such a journey to hear these stories, because you see some of the most successful people and then they tell their story and you're just like, I never realized that you've been through that. And it kind of makes things on a more human level, and it's created this connection, and it's been really incredible, because now we're streamed in 65 countries, now 66 as of this morning, and just continuing to span out in the top 1.5% of podcasts in the world. So it's been really interesting, because I think that people now, especially with COVID, like everyone has been genuinely trying to find purpose and meaning. Like people are moving more with intention, I feel like, and they're looking for authenticity. And I think that those real stories that share the real raw of life really have been the biggest factor as to why I think it's grown the way it has and continues to. Because you keep it real, and every time you keep it real, it just keeps on going. And it's just been an honor and a blessing. Like, Matt, you've been on it, you were such a rock star, and like we had so much fun with that. But it's the coolest thing in the world to hear these stories and learn. I mean, I learn every day with it, so it's been a really awesome journey. So thank you so much for plugging that in.
Oh, absolutely. It was a fun experience, and people can go check out that episode. But you've had a whole bunch of amazing people on, so that have like far more amazing stories than mine is to share. And yeah, it's extremely inspirational to hear other people that have conquered very, very difficult circumstances and a lot of adversity and a lot of setbacks, and just keep right on going. I mean, we're trying to help Greg through his situation, so it's inspirational for all of us that are trying to be a support as Greg goes through his stuff. But let's talk a little bit about you. I got to get my digs in. You alluded to your background, coming from an immigrant family. They built everything that they have from the ground up, and then you followed kind of in your own footsteps and went a different direction. Let's talk a little bit about your parents. What was their experience like? What was your experience like growing up? What were they doing, and what did they get into?
Yeah, so I was born in Tirana, Albania. So it was actually it was communism basically until 1991. So I was born in the collapse of communism. I was born in 91. And it's a crazy story. Like my parents grew up like not going to a church, military tanks when it gets dark out, like really heavy stuff.
Goodness.
And there was, I mean, that was going on in Albania for like 40 plus years. So my parents' entire life was that. And my dad's biggest dream was, when I have a family one day, I want to take them to the United States, where there's the land of opportunity, right? So he was always chasing that. And so he tried for a little bit to get a visa lottery to win to come to the US, but didn't get it. My grandmother put my parents' names in, and then we got it. So they didn't even know. My parents found out the day my little brother was born in Italy, because my parents actually fled to Italy, to Rome, for a better life, since they couldn't come to the U.S. and at that time yet. And then they won the visa lottery to come to the U.S. My little brother's born, and my grandmother's like, "Congratulations on your baby boy. Oh, by the way, you won the visa lottery to go to the United States of America." And my dad, like my grandmother, literally told me the story. Like my dad was like, "We're going," and my mom was like in the hospital bed, just gave birth. She's like, "Hold up." I just birthed a baby. Like, calm down. Like, what? And because at that time they hadn't saved. My brother was a newborn. I was 5. None of our family was here. They didn't know how to speak English. There was no job security, and they had no idea where they were going to live. And my dad still said yes. So if that's not underdog, like I don't, and I look at things, a lot of people are like, "Pam, like what inspires you?" And I'm like, I think of my parents making that choice, and I'm like, nothing's hard when you think about what they were up against. Like, that's not hard, right? Like anything I'm facing is nowhere close to bringing a family overseas with not knowing the language, not having any security, having a newborn baby and a 5-year-old, and a wife to take care of. So it's that's how my parents started. And my dad got into the restaurant biz, maybe because he was doing weird manual labor jobs because he couldn't speak English. Eventually got into the restaurant space. The owner became like his best friend, and he told him, he's like, "Listen, Soko, like let me just tell you something, as somebody who's been in the US for a while, one of 2 ways that you make money in the US and you build wealth is A, you own real estate, B, you own your own business. So he gave my dad a down payment to go out and buy a business. And so my dad bought that when I was about 10, and that's when I started working there. By the time I was 18, I was running the show with him. By the time I was 21, I had 2 of my own restaurants plus his. And then shortly thereafter, I wanted to build different streams of revenue. So I got into real estate development and started flipping. And then the rest is history. Real estate took over my life. You know, my first project, I hired a coach and then, you know, did my first deal, made almost 100K on that. And I was like, and then slowly started phasing out the restaurant. So it's been like this journey of like step by step by step. That's been ridiculous. And then in the last 9 years, I've sold, developed, or acquired over 100 million in real estate assets in and around the Boston market. By the time I was 27, I was in Forbes, Time Magazine, you know, just like like hit a 9-figure real estate career, like all of this craziness. And like, I look at it sometimes and I sit here and I'm like, I don't like, how did this happen? Right. But it's been one step at a time, hustle, building relationships, and just continuing to elevate and add value. And that's just kind of been my trajectory. So it's like, and the thing is, I didn't know anything about real estate. No construction background, no real estate background. I thought real estate developers were like drug dealers at one point because they would walk into my restaurants and I'm like, what do these guys do that they like golf on Fridays, take weekends off, and just like chill? Like, I don't, you know, coming from somebody who was taught the immigrant mentality that if you're not physically working hard, like 14, 16-hour days, you're not successful, right? So like, it was a lot of mentality breaking and in my world, and self-limiting beliefs and so many things. So yeah, I mean, basically my family was the original OG underdog, and then I came in and basically followed suit and just took it to a higher level. So that's my story in a nutshell. It's been a
I,
wild one.
I love it. That is a phenomenal story. I mean, Matt, if you ever bitch about coming from, middle of the U.S. ever again, Nebraska, she's gonna beat you every single time about your hardships
Yeah,
of
I
growing
can't. I
up.
can't beat. Like me being born on the wrong side of the tracks and like I like all that stuff. I can't beat tanks rolling down the street. Like there's
Exactly.
no way I'll ever top that.
The cool
I
thing
don't
is
know.
about
Nebraska?
immigrants is that the cool thing I love about immigrant stories is that my girlfriend, her parents were immigrants. Like her mom grew up in Asia, dirt floor. My girlfriend grew up living on a floor with cockroaches crawling over her. Her dad was her grandfather was a drug maker, and it was just crazy pants. And she used to live in this neighborhood where, I mean, it was banana cakes. There's all these old Asians, and it's nothing about a race. It's just like the culture of an immigrant when they come to the U.S. They're like, you're some pussy ass fools, here in the U.S. because you're afraid of whatever. But I got shot at. I had tanks rolling on me. Like, you're gonna pull a gun or a knife on me, bitch? You ain't got shit. You know. I can take this stuff, and that's what I respect so much about this, is that the hard work and ethics of people who come over here who see the dream, and the things that's the biggest problem with the U.S. citizens is that they take it for granted. And I will 100% say Matt is the iconic figure of that.
Thanks,
But
Greg. I
Gene,
appreciate you gallantly throwing me under the bus. That like,
oh sure,
Matt really takes it for granted. Oh my gosh. All right. So
Gene had guns pulled on him when he was a kid. I mean, he walked out of it cool, right?
Multiple times. Yeah.
well, it's not, to me, that's just part of living in Philadelphia. That's your own problem.
It's true. That's a true
You
story,
you
actually.
chose to live there as an adult. I mean, I don't know what rational person does that.
No, I got out of there. I got out of Dodge when I was 23, man.
All right, Pam. So let's dive into your background a little bit more. Take us back to a little bit of the transition. So you acquire a couple of other restaurants. You still have your dad's restaurant, but you do like your first real estate deal. How did that come about? What got you interested in it to begin with, and what were some of those very first kind of, we'll get into like more limiting belief stuff, but what were some of the challenges of doing just that very first deal, coming into it not knowing what you don't know?
Yeah, for sure. So, first it was those clients of mine who would come into like my restaurants, and I thought they were drug dealers because they could do whatever they wanted. And then, but I really, in talking to them, like I was joking on the forefront, I was actually kind of serious. But then that, talking to them, I'm like, they're telling me concepts about making your money work for you and getting into real estate, and how there's so many, real estate's such a big industry. And there's so many different ways to make money and diversify revenue streams. The average millionaire has 7 different revenue streams. And I'm like, well, damn, I have 2. I need 5 more. So I'm like, okay, well, what about flips? And this was around the time, like 2012, 2013, where, flips became a huge thing. Like they became the thing. And that's when Flip or Flop came out and like all these shows came out on HGTV. So everyone was going wild about them. And so I was looking at them all and I was like, that's really cool. And my uncle was a general contractor north of Boston, Mass, which is where I'm based. And then my dad was basically starting to invest in properties too, because my uncle was telling him about it. Like, this is a sustainable model. Because at that time, there was still some like we worked with an REO broker who had deals directly from banks. So they started flipping. And I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I'd really like to do this and take it to a higher level and make my own company out of it. So my dad was like, he's always treated me like an employee, which is, I think, the reason why I've been so successful in business. Because from day one, he wasn't like babying me. He was like, all right, like if you really want to do this, here's what you do: 1, 2, 3. And so I was like, all right, then I'm going to get serious about it. And what do you do when you get serious about something? You hire consultants and or coaches who know the game, have the systems in place, have the relationships, and can save you years of mistakes by just learning through them and them hand-holding you. Yes, it's an investment up front, but it pays off in the long run. So I hired a coach in my market, and so I worked with him, and then we ended up finding the first deal, and then we go from there. Like, I found that, handhold for a couple of deals, got my feet wet, and then I was able to, through that hands-on experience, be able to scale it from that point on. But it really took, because I look at it from a risk perspective. It's like, if I screw this up, because especially in the beginning, when my family was investing in my deals, I didn't have the cash flow to do that in the very beginning. Bootstrapping, that's how you usually do your first deal. And I was like, I can't screw this up. I want to make sure, like, whatever I do, handhold it, like hand-holding is there, everything I need is there, and I mitigate my risk as much as humanly possible. And that's so I did that, a few deals, and then from there it just scaled on up and slowly phased out my restaurants, sold and leased them throughout the process. But yeah, because I just fell in love with real estate, and it just bloomed into its own thing, truly.
Yeah.
Pamela, I'm going to introduce you to a guy named, I call him, his name is Mike T. I can never pronounce his last name, but he's in Boston.
Oh.
Who you get along fantastically. He's built his own brokerage, and I think you guys could probably do a lot of deals together.
Yeah.
Also, have you ever heard of an app called Deal Machine?
No, I haven't.
You and I will talk offline about this, but it's where you can pay $1 to $2 per lead. You can hire people to go out and like Uber drivers or whatever else that can find deals. Like, oh, this is a busted ass house. Go out there and they give you the address. If you like it, you buy it. You get all the information, the contact the owners, so you really can depend on the spend on. But a couple of things I want to talk about. I think when you come down to nothing, or when you come with nothing. I went when I was in college. I looked at my bank account, and I was down to $2.38 in my bank account. Then I went and I grew my business. 2008 happened. I lost everything. I went down to $35 to my name. And I love the hustle and grind that you're doing, because a lot of people are afraid to do the hustle and grind because it's not sexy. It's not fun. It's not something that you can highlight, but it's a necessary evil to your growth. Would you agree with that?
100% agree with it. The hustle brings everything, right? Like I always say, like, this is something you can't teach in school. There's a certain level of hustle that, like, you either got it or you don't. And that's what I think what builds entrepreneurs. It's like you could literally, if you have the hustle, you can do anything in this life that you could possibly want. If you don't, then that's when life's going to pass you by. And that's just simply what it comes down to at the end of the day. So everyone's like, Pamela, you didn't know anything about construction, nothing about real estate. And I'm like, yes, but I invested in the right people, and I hustled my ass off to make sure that I was doing everything I could to be as knowledgeable and run the business in the best way possible. But biggest thing was my tribe, right? Like the coaches and the people I surrounded myself with. So 100% agree with that. The hustle is everything.
So Pam, can I call you Pam, or is it Pamela? What would you prefer?
Pam's cool, yeah.
Pam, when it really comes to hustling and grinding, what can Gene do to grow hair back on his head?
I know Pam has an abundance of hair. It's really the universe balancing itself out. There, for every Gene, there's a Pam.
Yep. By the way, everyone who's listening, Gene is laughing his butt off behind scenes without his mic on.
Yeah, I've been bald for a couple years. I don't take it to heart. So, Pamela, I have a question for you. This has been burning in my mind since we've been talking about this, and I don't know. I mean, it might take you a second to kind of regurgitate, but on the Underdog podcast, how long have you been doing it now?
So that launched in 2020. Yeah, so it launched out in 2020, but I've been formulating and crafting it since late 2018, 2019.
Nice. So here's my
That's
question to you.
awesome.
Here's my question. Other than your story, is there like some one person that, I mean, you don't have to give me the name if you don't want to, but one person like that when you heard their Underdog story, you were like, "Yo." Anybody
Man,
popped out on your guest list that was like, you got to go listen to that one because that was a tough road and they made it through that.
I mean, there's the stories I've heard, man, it gets crazy emotional. And that was one of the hardest things for me is like, I've not been one to ever be like vulnerable or like show weakness or anything like that. Cause in my mind, like showing weakness is just not a thing. I was always built tough, like, like in my mind, right? Like I was the tough cookie, but I've had episodes where people share that they've been on the brink of suicide and how it almost happened, and then they had someone knock at their door, which gives me chills talking about it right
Mm.
now. I mean, and then I've had somebody like Bill Dolan, who is a film director, and he's out in Cali, and he was on a plane, and he literally died and came back to life. And then like on the plane he died, he was gone, he saw the light, came back, and like just his whole life shifted. He was so like he went in this space of gratitude, and like he changed all his media to focus on like meaningful things and purpose and driving towards that. And then I had another friend of mine, Jonas Kane, who Jonas like his fiance died, and he was like at the
Ugh.
brink of like losing, like literally about to lose his own life, and like looked at it and talks about when he looked at himself in the mirror and just like so just crazy. And I just sit there and I'm just like, I can't believe like I have the honor and the privilege of hearing like these deep stories, because I don't know who's listening and who's somebody who might be at that point in their lives at that very moment and is listening at that point and like hears that, and it could save somebody's life, so that's why it's the stories vary so much, and it's really really incredible because we've had now I think over 127 episodes I think have dropped since I launched, and it's been a hell of a
I
ride.
see 100. I see 124 right now, and you have a full 5-star review. There's no negative reviews on your episode. This is absolutely incredible.
Not yet. We'll get to work on that after the podcast. We can
On the
make sure
negative reviews?
you got to make it look real. Otherwise, it just looks like it's all. Got to have some. Got to
Matt
sprinkle
has
some
fake accounts.
obnoxious ones in there.
Matt has fake accounts, and he's been logging in and giving you 5-star reviews. I mean, it's
Yeah,
he stays
exactly.
up all night doing this.
That's
No,
right.
I
All right, Pam. Let's talk
I
about.
subscribed. I can't wait.
All right, good. Let's talk about limiting beliefs, but to close this out. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you had to overcome, because you talk about the hustle, but then you talk about developers. They kind of understood that yes, there's an element of hustle, but you can't just work 14, 15 hours a day, especially if you just spend your time on things that don't really make a big difference. And it's kind of easy. I mean, to me, that's one of the things about hustle culture that's interesting, is that a lot of people end up just spending their time spinning their wheels a lot of time. They don't really understand what gets results. And so they're hustling, but they're not really getting anywhere, and they're not sure why. And so they start to get frustrated. So how did you kind of overcome that limiting belief that, okay, everything has to be hustle, otherwise I'm not really working? And then you get into this world where it's way more about results and guiding how other people are working.
Yeah. So it was a lot. So, I mean, coming from the immigrant mentality and the old school hustle of my father, who, like, I don't need to hire somebody to do that because I can do it. And then he's the person with all the hats and he's going mental because he's working all these crazy hours, not believing in systems and scaling and all of that stuff that I thought was crazy, right? And then it also, what the deeper root of that, because I looked at myself and I was like, well, why do I think that I can't scale out and like basically like time efficiency, even though like I had learned this in college? My entrepreneurial finance teacher taught me one of the greatest lessons, and I think in business, which is opportunity cost. He said to me, he's like, Pam, when you graduate, he's like, Pam, it's great that you can make what you want to make, but I want you to always remember that what you're doing, there's an opportunity cost that has no price tag. When you put energy into one thing, you're taking away from another. So you need to make sure that that is all calculated in anything and everything that you do. So when I left college, my undergrad, Stonehill College, the professor said that and it stuck with me, but I still wasn't I still didn't get it, right? Like I'm like, yeah, I get it, but I still didn't get it because I was still in my own restaurants doing 14, 16-hour days. And when I got to the root of that, I'm like, well, why do I feel this way? And then deep down, I realized it was like a deeper issue of scarcity mindset. There's not enough for me to go and get somebody else so that I can continue to elevate, right? Like it's like there was this like dire thing that I had within me, and I realized that that was my problem, that was my block. And so I had to get through the scarcity mindset. Like, yeah, the universe provides, there's so much more than enough. If I do well, others do well. And like it was like a lot of inner workings and personal development to get past that point, because I nobody around me, and you can imagine like at my age, like when I'm doing this, I was 21 years old. My friends were out partying, drinking, and doing whatever. Like, and meanwhile, I had like 3 different businesses I was doing. My development company, my 2 real estate, my 2 restaurants. Like, everything was like crazy in my life. So it was really hard to like find the peeps, right? For a little while. But then when I did, and they kind of walked me through, like, no, Pam, you could do it slowly, mitigate your risk, and keep going up. But it took a lot of work, to get out of basically reteaching my mind and reprogramming it to believe something else from what I was taught my whole life. That it was ingrained to me at the very core. So it took a lot of work to get out of that and get into abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset. Because that scarcity mindset is what's going to keep you working those 14 to 16-hour days and keep you stuck like right here because, I don't have enough. So I need to stick to this. Because I know that this is secure and that, this is all that's there for me. Right. So it was, it's interesting when you look at certain problems and it seems like that's the problem, but really there's a deeper level every single time.
Underlying current that's going to go through your brain. I mean, I've been a part of it 100%. All of us have. And it's recognizing it is the number one thing you have to do. First off, is say, okay, look, I got an issue here. I'm not living up to my highest potential because I have this mindset. Once you understand and you identify the mindset, then you can eliminate the mindset. Then you can hire people to do those other things that, most real estate agents and most people, professionals and non-professionals, doesn't matter if you're a bricklayer or a real estate agent or a CEO, everybody thinks they can do it best themselves, right? They don't want to trust somebody else to do it. And once you understand that there are a lot of very capable people that need an income, especially right now, hey, let's help a family out. Let's help Mr. or Mrs. out. Give them some income. You get freedom. You go on, like you said, Pam, go on to do your highest and best cause and live your best life on this stuff. And it's so friggin' hard to see that sometimes. I mean, when you were talking, I immediately thought about myself, not in a selfish way, but I was telling like, shit. Matt, don't say anything. I know you're going to have a snarky comment on this.
I have nothing. I have nothing.
Yes, bullshit. You have tons. But I was thinking about, where in my life could I hire out people to help me? Because I've analyzed my hourly value. When I do prospecting for real estate, I'm worth $1,500 an hour doing prospecting. I went to the dog park for the last couple of months. I went and showed a $2 million home last night to someone I met at the dog park. And the greatest thing is that she and her partner are phenomenal human beings, but we bonded over doing something we love. So when you do something then that translates into business because you're happy about doing it. And you genuinely seem happy with what you do.
Yes, 100%. And that's the thing is like, how do we take our lives to the next level so that we can do the things we love and help as many people as possible? I felt like when I made that transition into my business where I focused more on legacy and pouring out to the world, everything shifted in my life. I was doing more things that I love, like you were just talking about. Like you then gain that time and you do these things, and it's like the universe just brings it to you. That's why I always say when you switch to that abundance mindset, the whole game shifts.
Oh, it totally shifts. I mean, I have a 1.9, another 1.9, and another $2.5 million potential deals coming from walking a dog and picking up dog shit, and throwing a ball. It's because I love what I do. I mean, it's that small of a shift. And I think, Pamela, what you're saying, if people can resonate with what the words coming out of your mouth, and they really take it to heart, the next leg of their life is going to be so much more powerful and entertaining and educational and everything else. Stop doing the grind. Gary V's Gary V. Grant Cardone's Grant Cardone. God bless them. That's their path on earth. My decision in life, and then I'll wrap it up because I know Matt's getting itchy toes and they're starting to sweat because he wants to wrap the show up. But I've decided to do one powerful thing a day. That's it. One powerful thing a day. After that, my day's mine. I can do whatever I want. And guess what? I'm the happiest I've been in a long time.
Love that. I absolutely love that. But again, it's all mindset shifts. And people are like, oh, is this really all it takes? Yeah, but there's a lot of work you got to do deep down here, because there's a lot of things that may not be healed that you got to bring to the surface to get to that level, of what you want, and to feel worthy of that too, because there comes a whole laundry list of things when you start recognizing these things even within you that you've got to clear in order to get to that point. Like, okay, I am worthy of that time. I am worthy to be loved. I am worthy to be happy. So totally agree with that. I love that. Absolutely love that.
That is powerful. That right there. By the way, Matt, I sent you the last check-in for your therapist to get you through the next session when it comes to finding your inner self. So you're cleared to go next week. Just to let you know.
Good. All right, Pam, what's the best way to reach out and connect? We talked a little bit about the podcast, which everybody can go find on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of your favorite apps. If somebody just really resonated and connected with you and says, that's the kind of person that I think should mentor me, I'm thinking about getting into investment or development or flips or whatever, or maybe they're just an agent in Boston that needs to join your brokerage. I don't know. How do people link up? How do they get connected? And how do they maybe connect up on social media?
For sure. So I'm very active on Instagram, LinkedIn, and then of course I've got like my website and all that, but you'll really connect to me on a personal level, mostly through Instagram, honestly. That I have so much fun with that. So Pamela_Bardhi, please feel free to connect with me there. Would love to interact and see what you're up to in the world. Absolutely love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Excellent. And Bardhi is Bardhi for anyone that's listening and looking for why can't I find her this way? That's why. Spell the last name right and you should be fine. And then Gene, what's the best way to reach out and connect with you?
Yo, you know how we do it? Hit me up on the GeneVolpe.com, y'all. Set up a calendar invite. How's that?
Wow, that was very Kanye of you.
Yeah, Gene just launched his new rap album.
That's right.
Yes, it's amazing. It's fantastic.
It's a collaboration featuring someone known as Young Wheezy. We're not really sure what it's. Someone with asthma, I think. It's a rapper with asthma.
That's my 13-year-old daughter. The album's called White Noise.
Exactly. All right. Greg, what's the best way to connect with you?
Well, actually, Matt, you're supposed to ask me.
That's right.
We have to do this in reverse. So, Matt,
okay.
Guys, if you guys are going to reach out to Matt, I need you guys to go to getmicrofamous.com. It's a phenomenal, an incredible book. Matt will ship you a book. You just have to pay for the shipping. He'll give you the for free. It is.
We don't do that anymore. Just sign up for the email list or sign up on Substack.
Book. Could you shut up and let me give you a plug?
I don't do the free plus shipping anything anymore. You got to do it right if you're going to give me a plug. Don't make promises I can't keep.
All right. Well, Matt's not going to give you shit, but go to getmicrofamous.com, and you're not going to get crap from him. Okay,
that's
Matt.
Right. Yeah, you do get a free digital copy of the book if you join the email list. Okay, and then Greg. So if anybody is on the listening end and you are a residential agent, you're looking for a long-term option, you want to start building some leverage, some passive income, accumulating some stock options, and essentially find more ways to make more money doing the same things that you're already doing in real estate, that's why you should reach out and talk to Greg. The bottom line is we're making six figures off the back end of the podcast by helping people. And so if you want to do something along those same lines, Greg can show you exactly how that works. So the number for Greg is 925-915-1978. That is his actual real cell phone number. He's crazy enough to give out on the show, and he has for years. So just text him, set up a call. He'll be happy to explain exactly how we're making money passively in real estate, and you can do the exact same thing. And it really gets you into a structure where you can help other people keep doing what you're doing, but make more money doing it. Is that a good way to describe that, Greg?
Yes, and when you guys contact me, Matt will still not give you a free book. So this is fantastically awesome. Pamela, one more time, anything you want to plug, give everybody anything that they can reach out to you besides the podcast, because I'm subscribing to it and I'm going to start listening to it because I love these stories. This is a phenomenal, inspirational opportunity for people to get pumped up before they go out there and do their prospecting.
Thank you so much, Greg. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, my biggest thing and my biggest mission in this life is to empower as many people as possible. So honestly, just subscribing to the podcast and listening to those stories and sharing those messages with those you love and beyond. Honestly, that's the greatest gift that I could have because I'm honored to do what I do. So that's the greatest thing for me. So thank you so much.
Not a
Awesome.
Pamela, I'm not going to give these two an opportunity to do this. You to do one for me before we leave. Is that okay?
Totally cool.
I need you to pick a color for the bow on this show.
The bow on the show, red.
Okay, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. We have a red bow on this show. Thank you so much, Pamela, for coming on. Matt, you're amazing. Gene, you're a legend. Anything that you heard here, please tag Pamela in any comments you watch or listen to our podcast. We love you to pieces. Until next time, ninjas, we gone.